Saul and Battery, hosted by
Jeans
and Kelly. Forget what you know. Forget what you know. A Saul and Battery.
Hi everybody, welcome back to A Saul and Battery. I'm Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm Jeans. My handle is YEUNGJEANS on Instagram.
And we are on episode 6 of Better Call Saul Season 4, entitled Pinata, which is well worth the wait. We don't know why it's named Pinata, but we learn.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. We'll talk about that more shortly. But first, a speed recap that we like to kind of do for this show. So, without further ado, we get to meet larval Kim and Jimmy, and Kim kills 2 birds with 1 Schweikert. The Alpine Shepherd Boy gets a bittersweet shout-out. Howard drops the F-bomb in a major way. Gus apparently has been creepy since age 7. We learn that Kai is German for trouble. And Jimmy gets another turn at bat with Skippy, Scooter, and Pee-wee. There you go. Which I loved.
I did too, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
So in opening, like you said, it's a larval Jim and Kimmy, and I like how it's sort of an odd dynamic. They are both working in the mailroom. Clearly, they've got mail carts. They're delivering things, and working out the pool for, was it Oscars?
Oscars, yep.
Yeah, and Kim is just fangirling, blatantly fangirling over Chuck in this case that he's won, over Jimmy's brother. And this, she's telling him all about the details of the case, which Jimmy does not look terribly interested in, to be quite frank. And she's just completely enthralled. And she's just, obsessing over details of the case and very, very excited. And of course, then Chuck comes up and she's fangirling in front of him, all over him. And it's not bad. I mean, it's not, she's not drooling or anything, but it's fangirling.
Yeah. Big time. I was waiting for her. Would you sign my time card? Yeah, and Chuck never misses an opportunity to kind of lowball, subtly demean Jimmy because
Self-congratulate.
Yeah, Jimmy tries to congratulate him, but he puts the client versus Chuck, and so Chuck kind of, he does the Chuck thing, and eye roll, really hate, boy, he just walked in so smug, and so, he did actually, apparently it was a really big win and a good thing, and some esoteric case law, but it was interesting to see how big a fan Kim was, and how Jimmy was probably better liked across the whole office, because he chatted everybody up.
Absolutely. And so he leaves that discussion and goes immediately into, sneaks sort of into the library of the firm. And so you have to wonder, is this pre law school? Because he did go to law school online. So is this the precursor to that? Is that what brought him into it? Is impressing Kim that important to him that he's willing to go through law school? It kind of feels that way right now.
That's the way I read it. I don't think this was, let me continue my secretive law studies. This felt like, let me begin my secretive law studies, because Kim seems to like people who know stuff. I want her
growing up for me like that.
Yes, yeah. Indeed. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without a doubt.
All right. I don't think there's too much going on. She's working on stuff at home. Kim's working on things at home for the bank, and she does run across Jimmy's notes where he has drawn some signs for the
Wexler and McGill.
the logo. That's the word I was
Oh,
looking for.
okay.
I lost the word logo for a minute. I'm sorry. Yes, so he's drawn some signage for that. He's actually like sort of sketched it out.
And back to your Jimmy as a child, this is very much high school notebook Van Halen logo drawing. It's very much that.
Kim McGill. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
No hearts.
Yeah.
There are no hearts, but yeah, that's what it looked like. It was very, very high school. It was sort of cute.
Yep.
But it clearly makes her uncomfortable because she does make a move very quickly.
That she does. And so she has that meeting with Rich Schweikert from the firm that was involved in the whole kind of sandpiper stuff and all that. And and I don't know why it stuck with me, but because they kind of made it sort of a big deal in the episode, or at least pointed to it. Rich likes his Moscow mules, the Copper Cup, ginger and beer. Moscow Mule is a great drink. And when eventually we get into the part where Kim and Jimmy get back together, they're in a restaurant and there's 2 Moscow Mules sitting out there waiting for them at that point in time to kind of, Rich Schweikert is hanging over this entire thing.
Right. Yeah. So she has a quick conversation with Jimmy about how he's not going to go to therapy. He doesn't think it's right for him. I think he calls it navel gazing.
He does.
Which I have never heard of before, and I'm gonna have to very, very carefully Google that. very carefully.
You're safe.
Google that.
You're safe. You'll be safe on the first several results.
First
but
3, and I think after that.
I wouldn't go to video, on the searches. Stay with just all results, and you should be fine. Stay towards the top of the list.
Yeah.
You'll be okay.
And I think that sort of makes her think a little bit, and so then she goes and she brings all of the banking stuff that she's been doing, the Mesa Verde case. She brings that, it's not really a case, client, just to Schweiker and Coakley, and says, "Do you want a banking division? Because I can hand you that.
I can give you a big one." And This is best of both worlds for Kim, because she heads off for whatever reason. She's not as enthusiastic about Wexler, McGill, and Van Halen as Jimmy is, and so she's able to kind of tamp that down, and at the same point in time create an environment where she's got much deeper backup than the one paralegal who looks pretty awesome, but she just has the one paralegal. And so now she's got a lot more staff to kind of cover some of the things so she can get back to her PD work.
And they also offered her a partnership for that.
Yeah, not bad either.
Yeah, so I mean she gets a lot out of this, and so she breaks it to him in a public place, which speaks something to, I think, of not a full trusting relationship there, where she feels that she has to break it to him, after having seen his sketches and things of that nature, and he's kind of going through a hard time, and she already thinks he kind of needs counseling, and she's going to break it to him in a restaurant with good memories. It's a restaurant where she and him got into a little bit of trouble. Not really. I mean, they didn't get into trouble, but I mean, they were kind of
cause trouble.
they were causing trouble, exactly. So she brings him to a place with good memories. She's got booze on the table waiting to go, and he promptly has a panic attack.
Yes, he does.
Murder.
Yeah, he has a good form to kind of get over to the kitchen and do that,
Yeah.
clear his mind, and then come back and sell how he's totally behind it. Thinks it's a great idea, which really surprises Kim.
I think it surprises everybody. He was not on board. He was trying to be a good boyfriend, but he was not on board with that. He was not happy with that decision at all.
Yep.
and obviously it's not, they don't have the type of relationship where she felt that she could discuss it with him or explain it to him or anything of that nature. And she didn't really get into the fact that I brought this situation into fruition. She just says that it was offered to her. So it's a little sketchy for Kim, I think.
Yeah, it's not really, I don't know if I'd call it manipulation. I mean, she's certainly going through some steps to avoid having to say, I don't really want to be in law practice with you.
Yeah.
She's finding a way to not have to say that and get her PD stuff in a better place. So it's all right.
Right. And he did sort of kind of force that a little bit when they were, sharing that office space, because she wanted to keep things very separate, and then he drew the logo on the wall that was very clearly linking their names together, and he was sort of feeling her out as far as when you take these couple of clients, I have something to do, and then I'll pick it up when I get back. And she was like, that's not how this works. We're separating it. So I think she just didn't. I think this is a way for her to avoid being put in that type of position again.
Yep, absolutely. So Mike goes and makes nice with Stacy.
Yeah.
Just
Whatever.
Kind of necessary, I think.
Yeah. Right.
Surprised he called the guy a charlatan. That's not a word I would have expected from Mike, but
He's an old-fashioned
yeah,
guy.
I guess. Yeah.
I think
Accurate.
That was the nicest name he could come up with for what he thinks of him.
Right. Maybe trying to keep the rage part down.
Yeah.
And but and while he certainly values the relationship with Stacy, it's Kaylee that is obviously the most important to him, and so he's working his way back in to be able to pick her up and help out again, which is means a lot to Mike. It's very good.
And then Jimmy goes to pick up his inheritance.
Yeah.
Howard, and they kind of butt heads a little bit.
Yeah, Howard doesn't look significantly better since last we saw him in the previous episode. He's not thrown up in a sink, but he's thrown up on a desk.
Looks like it. He does. He looks like he's rode hard, put away wet. That poor guy. He's wrung out.
Yeah.
And Jimmy recognizes that, and I mean, he does, to his credit, he does seem genuinely concerned about, Howard, in the bathroom in the last episode, and then now he's just sort of like, there's empty desks. Is this like a feng shui thing? He's kind of trying to feel it out a little bit, see where they're at. When he finds out that they're laying people off, he gets angry. And he needles Howard a little bit, and I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think he's right. He tells him not to wallow, and he has a very, Howard has a very specific response to that.
Yes, he does. Yeah, they're apparently, from on occasion I'll listen to some of the podcasts by the creators of either Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, and I forget what the Breaking Bad count was, but for Better Call Saul, they get to drop an F-bomb a season, so they can kind of one or two, so they kind of get strategic on where there is, and Howard delivered it with gusto.
He did.
And,
he did. And you don't. I mean, everything I think we've seen with him so far, that didn't seem to be in him. Oh. So that was he's clearly.
I don't know if it had the desired effect he wanted to, because Jimmy was like, "That's the spirit," He was like, "There you go."
It. There you go. Yeah, like an actor. Yeah, take that emotion and use it.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we go back to he uses that inheritance to buy like $1 billion cell phones.
Quite a few. Which we get back to the nail salon.
Yeah.
The greatest judge of character, Mrs. Wen, is there, and never had anything. I think her first line in the entire series was when he was coming back into the nail salon. She was like, "You defended people that had sex with a head," or something like that. And she's never been impressed with Jimmy's body of work.
Yeah. And then she denies him the cucumber water.
Yes, customers only.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Which I think was not necessarily. I mean, I think it wasn't just for customers only. I think it was more like not for lawyers who defend guys that have sex with heads.
Right.
Deadheads.
Yeah, deadhead. Yeah. We should clarify. That was.
Yeah. I think that was really more of her point. But yeah,
Yeah.
she could
Yeah.
say,
That adds a little. Yeah. Give me that. So. But she, as usual, none of his chicanery, but he kind of sort of buys her off with the phone. So.
and then we have
I think it's Gus and Hector. I think it's.
I was trying to remember the name. It's a Kaladi that who told the story about a cat that was eating fruit out of a wild cat that was eating fruit out of a childhood tree and how he caught it and kept it alive. It's 7 years old, I think he said he was.
Yeah,
that was for a while. Dark for a while.
Yeah, he's had years to develop the skill, that's for sure. And and it's just, I mean,
I kept expecting Salamanca to twitch or something, I have to say.
Yeah, or the heart rate to go up or something.
A finger, I don't know. I was waiting for something to happen. It was like Salamanca just laid there, just like, oh.
Oh, I know what you wanted. You wanted the bell. You wanted a ding.
I am not looking forward to the days of the bell. I can just say that.
It's coming up.
No.
But yeah, and it's just what a performance and what a scene with great writing where he's rolling out this story on how poor they were and he nurtured this tree and this Coty took some of the fruit, not even all of the fruit, just some of the fruit, and so he laid in wait, and when he didn't quite get it the first time, he just kept waiting until he could let it slowly die as he watched it die. And that was, for me, there are a couple good quotes in this episode, but I usually pick the funnier ones, but I just, that whole scene was powerful, and that whole, and yet I wait, just kind of delivered in context was just a fantastic line from Gus, and so I kind of like that quite a bit.
Story, and he tells it in dark. It's dark. There's like layers upon layers of darkness happening in there. It's really
Good too. Not nearly as fun as the next scene.
And then we go to the German crew that is going to build the super lab. They show up, and they have I don't know, some personality quirks.
Yeah, at least, the Ferris Bueller of the German crew.
Kai.
It's just like you could totally takes seconds to establish I'm a jerk.
But, he literally drops his bags and then immediately stops listening and will not do what he's told. And like Mike's trying to get their attention so he can just explain to them sort of what the rules are and how this is going to work. And Kai immediately shows him, I do what I want.
Yeah. Which is not a good strategy in dealing with Mike.
No, especially not for a super secret drug lab that you're building. Really not. That's not a good situation to be in. I think if he's being paid to make sure that everything stays quiet and secretive and is running smoothly, you do not want to be in Mike's way.
No, not at all. And it's not a bad spread they've got.
No,
there's treadmills and
a couple of trailers in there, and he's got treadmills, and he sets up basketball hoops for them, and they have a nice little movie viewing area, and there's a bar with beer on tap, as he pointed out, because they're German. That's what he pointed out. So, and he was drinking a very dark beer, some kind of lager, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So yeah, it will be it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, it was a pretty cool setup. I was a little disappointed there was no kind of pop-up Polos Hermanos there in there. Gus could have kind of.
I can't imagine how much money you would have to pay people to to work and then just that for 6 months. That's
You're not, yeah. That they're getting. I think they are getting paid. I mean, see, all indications are they're getting well compensated, but they better be, because that's a tough gig.
working at night and then spending the rest of your life inside a warehouse. I mean, so you're never seeing the sun.
Yeah.
Basically. It's a hard sell, especially to Kai.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. He's not one to apt to buy into things quickly, I think. So
No, I
not a
think
team player.
No, he's got some machismo happening, and he was definitely letting Mike know that you are not in charge of me.
Bad idea. Bad idea.
And then we have finally your favorite part.
Yes, I was so angry at those three gentlemen the last episode when, after all of Jimmy's hard. What's that?
Pee-wee, Scooter, and Skippy.
Yeah, they were jerks, and they ripped Jimmy off, and then you weren't 100. I mean, you saw a couple things happening in advance. You had to kind of think that and Jimmy kind of psyching himself up before he got out of the car. He said, "There's got to be something up." But I started to get worried for him because it just seemed like, oh, this is going to go the same way again, and which really would have been a bummer. But the only flaw I find in this plan is that for this to work, Jimmy had to, with great confidence, say, "I can outrun these three much younger, probably lighter individuals for, I don't know, 4 blocks or so." I mean, I guess there was an incentive, and he got a bit of a jump on him.
He didn't want to get beat up again. But I mean, so he offers them $100 at night, a night to leave him alone so he can go about his business and sell his, back room full. I mean, it was literally the entire back room of that nail salon was just cell phone. And he wants to just go about his business and sell them. I'll give you guys $100, just leave me alone. And I kind of knew that there was no way that was going to happen, and he has, and being a con man himself, dealing with those sorts of people, I think he had to know that was not going to fly. That was kind of my thinking was like, what is going on here? And then when he got cornered, I was like, okay, this is one of those situations, like, in the very, very beginning, when he accidentally runs over that teenager. The look on his face was very similar, where he's sort of like, okay, here we go. And I don't know exactly how, they chase him into this corner, and then he's like,
should have taken the deal.
They fell right into his hands, and of course that's assuming that he could really, and I didn't buy that either. My suspension of disbelief was pressed really hard at the idea that he could outrun the three of them.
Yeah, for a block, maybe. But if you're giving him what looked like a good 3 to 4 blocks, I say, you're going to get caught, dude. You're not going to make it to your little snare you've got set up.
Yeah, and I don't know how he got them strung upside down in the pinata.
Well, I obviously he had help, and so once they're in there, there's 2 guys. If there's 2 guys behind you with shotguns, you'll lay down and let them wrap you up in duct tape. The alternative is getting shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but if my suspension of disbelief is pressed at him outrunning them, it's even more pressed at the idea of him, even with a pulley system, swinging those kids up by their ankles and hanging them from the ceiling. Like, does he really have the upper body strength for that? I feel like no, that's not a thing.
Yeah, we had help again though, and Huel was there.
Huel was there, so Huel saved the day.
He's got a good counterweight. He'll be able to help tote them up. Yeah. And then probably my favorite part of the whole scene is that, first of all, the vindication of Jimmy to kind of really put the fear of God into these guys is awesome and really fun to see, and them freaking out. I was savoring every minute of it. But what I liked the most was they just left, and they're still hanging there. It's like...
Yeah. So he gets them to agree to tell everybody you leave the cell phone guy alone, and this is after they've broken, I don't know how many pinatas, sort of working their way, getting closer and closer. These 3 and then he just drops drops the mic, drops the bat, and just walks out and leaves him hanging there. And only one of them has got his mouth untaped. The other two still have their mouth duct taped. So he's the only one that can even yell for help is this one guy.
Yep.
I don't know. I thought that was awesome.
Yep. They deserved it. So,
A little bit.
so.
A little karma there. All right. Good.
Yeah, and I was thrown just a little bit on that scene because so Huel was getting into Pinata smashing, I think, quite a bit. And
Yeah.
And Jimmy was like, okay, we can stop. And I actually thought it was him kind of his unsuccessfully kind of keeping Huel contained, but then
Right.
realized it's like, no, we're going to dial this up one more notch for him. And he's like, well, you know, if you're really in the mood, have at it. And so he starts to square up on the kid. He just had that last final twist. It was awesome. It was great. Loved the scene. Truly enjoyed it. Fun way to go.
It's always good to watch bad people get their comeuppance.
Yep.
It's always entertaining.
Yes, indeed. You were hopeful that would happen, but you didn't necessarily know. But sure enough. All right. Fun one. I really enjoyed this episode. Anything else for this week?
Don't think so. The only other thing that I could think of was he had a moment in the before where he was sort of taking a look at his life choices, and then the minute that she sort of goes off and decides to become a partner of another law firm, obviously leaving him behind, he decides to make another really bad life choice and buy like 1 billion phones. So that was just another thing that I noticed. It was like he seems to respond to rejection or problems with just bad life choices.
Yes,
But a teenager.
he is. But we love him, so
Yeah.
we're rooting for him. But it's probably not going to end well since this is a prequel. We know where he ends up. But,
Exactly. We know where it goes. But yeah.
all that any likable element's going to go away. So.
Well, I mean, and even in the beginning of each season, we kind of have a little glimpse of where it goes, and he goes from being a successful lawyer to a guy that's just working at the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Probably paycheck to paycheck would be the assumption of sort of how that works based on
Well,
little glimpses that we catch. I mean, I know he's got his suitcase
his suitcase full of money. Yeah, it's kind of handy.
But I mean, if he thought that being a copier salesman was beneath him, you have to imagine it's quite a blow.
It's brutal. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for listening. If you haven't subscribed to the Bog Panda YouTube channel, please do. There's this show. There's the Squad Cobbler podcast. There's the Nurture and Support podcast, and other stuff as well. So take a look at it. We'd really appreciate it if you'd consider subscribing. And thanks for watching tonight, folks.